The mountain was quiet that morning when Park Do-hyun heard the explosion. He was sitting on his cabin porch, drinking coffee and watching the fog roll through the valley below. Then the sky turned bright orange, and something fell from the clouds like a burning star. Do-hyun set down his cup. He had seen many things in his 40 years of life. He had been a pilot in the Korean Air Force, then a cargo runner, then a salvage operator working the forgotten corners of the world. But he had never seen anything like this. The object crashed 2 kilometers north, in the restricted zone where the old military base used to stand. The ground shook. Birds flew from the trees in every direction. Then silence returned, thick and heavy. Do-hyun knew he should call the authorities. That was the smart thing to do. But he had stopped doing smart things a long time ago. He grabbed his pack, his medical kit, and his father's old hunting rifle. Then he started walking. It took him an hour to reach the crash site. The forest was burned in a wide circle. Trees lay flat on the ground, pointing away from the center like spokes on a wheel. And in the middle of it all sat a ship. It was not like any aircraft Do-hyun had ever seen. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop with no visible engines or windows. The metal seemed to glow from within, pulsing with soft blue light. Parts of it were cracked and broken, leaking a substance that looked like liquid starlight. Do-hyun approached carefully. He had heard stories about alien contact. Everyone had. But the governments always said those stories were false, just rumors and conspiracy theories. Now he was standing in front of proof that those governments had lied. He found the entrance on the side of the ship, a hole torn open by the crash. He climbed inside. The interior was dark but beautiful. The walls were covered in patterns that looked like frozen music, all curves and flowing lines. The air smelled strange, like flowers and electricity mixed together. Do-hyun moved forward, his rifle raised, his heart beating fast. He found her in what looked like the control room. She was lying on the floor, surrounded by broken glass and sparking wires. At first, Do-hyun thought she was dead. Then he saw her chest rise and fall, slowly, weakly. She was humanoid, but not human. Her skin was pale silver, almost white, and it seemed to catch light that was not there. Her hair was long and dark blue, spread around her head like water. Her features were delicate, almost too perfect, like someone had carved her from moonlight. She wore a dress of shimmering material that moved like liquid, and she was hurt, badly. Do-hyun could see burns on her arms and a deep wound in her side. Silver blood pooled beneath her. He put down his rifle and opened his medical kit. He did not know if human medicine would work on her. He did not know anything about her biology. But he could not just let her die. He worked for an hour, cleaning her wounds, stopping the bleeding, wrapping bandages around her body. She did not wake up, but her breathing grew stronger. When he was done, he sat back and looked at her face. She was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen, and she was completely helpless. Do-hyun made his decision. He would not call the authorities. He would not report the crash. He knew what would happen if he did. The military would come. They would take her away to some laboratory. They would cut her open and study her like an animal. He would not let that happen. He carried her out of the ship and through the forest. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. He brought her to his cabin and laid her on his bed. Then he went back to the crash site and used explosives to bury the ship under rock and dirt. By nightfall, there was no sign it had ever been there. For 3 days, the alien woman slept. Do-hyun watched over her, changing her bandages, giving her water through a small tube. He talked to her even though she could not hear him. He told her about his life, his past, his mistakes. He told her she was safe. On the 4th day, she opened her eyes. They were purple, deep and bright like galaxies. They looked at Do-hyun with confusion, then fear, then something else. Understanding. She spoke. The words were not Korean or English or any language Do-hyun knew, but somehow he understood them. It was like the meaning appeared directly in his mind. "Where am I?" she asked. "Earth," Do-hyun said. "My home. You crashed here. I found you." She tried to sit up but gasped in pain. Do-hyun gently pushed her back down. "Rest," he said. "You are hurt." "My ship," she said. "My guards. Are they—" "There was no one else," Do-hyun said quietly. "I am sorry." She closed her eyes. A single tear ran down her silver cheek. Do-hyun did not know what to say, so he said nothing. He just sat with her in the silence. Over the next 2 weeks she healed. Her body recovered faster than any human could, and as she healed, she talked. She told Do-hyun her name was Yuna, and she was the heir to something called the Celestine Empire. Her people ruled thousands of worlds across 3 galaxies. They were ancient and powerful, and they had watched Earth for centuries. She told him she had been running. Her own council had tried to kill her. They wanted to put her cousin on the throne instead, a man named Tae-woo, who believed in conquest and control. She had escaped in a small ship, but they had chased her, shot her down, left her to die. "Why come to Earth?" Do-hyun asked. "Because it was close," Yuna said, "and because your people are interesting. You are young and chaotic and violent, but you are also brave and creative and full of feeling. My people have forgotten how to feel. We traded our hearts for order long ago." She looked at Do-hyun with those galaxy eyes. "You saved me," she said. "Why? You do not know me. I am not your kind." Do-hyun thought about the question. He thought about all the reasons he should have left her there or turned her in. Then he thought about the look on her face when she had asked about her guards. "Because you needed help," he said. "That is enough." Something changed in her expression then. Something soft and surprised. She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cool and smooth like polished stone. "You are a strange human, Park Do-hyun," she said. He smiled. "I have been told that before." They sat together as the sun went down. Outside, the mountain was quiet. But far above, beyond the clouds and the sky and the cold, black emptiness of space, ships were moving. The Celestine fleet had entered the solar system. They were coming for their queen. The warships appeared over Earth on a Tuesday morning. There were 12 of them, each one larger than a city, hanging in the sky like silver mountains. Every television, every phone, every screen on the planet showed the same image. People screamed, people prayed, governments sent messages begging for peace. The Celestines did not answer. They simply waited. In his cabin on the mountain, Do-hyun watched the news with Yuna beside him. Her face was calm, but her hands were shaking. "They will burn this world to find me," she said quietly. "They will take apart every city, every village, every home. My people do not make threats. They make promises." "Then we hide," Do-hyun said. "We go underground. We disappear." Yuna shook her head. "You do not understand. They can feel me. Every Celestine of royal blood carries a signal in their body, a resonance that cannot be blocked. They already know I am here. They are simply waiting for me to come to them." She stood up and walked to the window. The distant shapes of the warships were visible even from here, dark spots against the blue sky. "I must go back," she said. Do-hyun felt something cold in his chest. He had known this moment would come. He had known from the beginning that she did not belong here, that she was too important, too powerful, too far above him. But knowing did not make it easier. "I understand," he said. Yuna turned to look at him. Her purple eyes were full of something he could not name. "No," she said. "You do not understand. I must go back, but I will not go without you." Do-hyun stared at her. "What?" "Come with me," Yuna said. "I am asking you to come with me." "To space? To your empire?" "I am just a human. I am nobody." You are not nobody to me. She crossed the room and stood in front of him. She was tall, taller than him, and she looked down at him with an intensity that made his skin feel hot. In 3 weeks, you have shown me more kindness than I have received in 300 years, she said. You saved my life. You protected me. You asked nothing in return. My own people tried to kill me, but you, a stranger from a primitive world, treated me with honor. She took his hands in hers. I do not want to lose that, she said. I do not want to lose you. Do-hyun's mind was spinning. This was insane. He was a broken man living alone on a mountain. She was the ruler of a galactic empire. They had known each other for less than a month. This could not be real. But it was real. He could feel her hands holding his. He could see the truth in her eyes. If I come with you, he said slowly, what happens? Your people will not accept me. No, Yuna agreed. They will not. But there is a way. An old law older than the empire itself. I can declare you my consort-elect. It would give you standing in the imperial court. It would give you protection. Consort, Do-hyun repeated. You mean like a husband? More than that. A partner in all things. In rule, in war, in life. It is the highest bond a Celestine can form. Do-hyun let out a breath. We have known each other for 3 weeks. Yes. Your people will hate me. Yes. This could start a war. Yes. He looked at her. She looked back at him. Neither of them moved. You are crazy, Do-hyun said. Perhaps, Yuna said. Will you come with me? He thought about his cabin, his mountain, his quiet life. He thought about all the years he had spent alone, running from his past, hiding from the world. He thought about how empty it had all been. Then he thought about her. Yes, he said, I will come with you. They flew to the flagship that same day. A small shuttle came down from orbit to collect them. Do-hyun held Yuna's hand as they rose through the atmosphere, watching Earth grow smaller beneath them. He wondered if he would ever see it again. The flagship was called the Eternal Dawn, and it was magnificent. The corridors were wide and white, filled with soft light that seemed to come from everywhere. Celestines walked past them, tall and beautiful, their silver skin glowing. They looked at Do-hyun with open disgust. The council was waiting in the throne room. There were 12 of them, old and powerful, sitting in a half-circle around a raised platform. In the center of the platform stood a man who looked like Yuna, but colder, harder. His eyes were pale blue, and they held no warmth at all. Lord Tae-woo. Cousin, he said, you return at last. We feared you were dead. Your assassins failed, Yuna replied calmly, as they always do. Tae-woo smiled. It was not a kind smile. And what is this creature you have brought with you? A pet from the surface? Yuna stepped forward. Her voice rang out across the throne room, strong and clear. This is Park Do-hyun of Earth. He saved my life. He protected me when my own blood tried to murder me. And I declare him my consort-elect by the ancient law of resonance. The room exploded. The council members shouted and argued. Guards stepped forward with weapons raised. Tae-woo's face twisted with rage. This is madness, he roared. You would bond yourself to this animal. You would pollute our bloodline with human filth. The law is clear, Yuna said. Any being who passes the trial of resonance may be declared consort. It does not matter where they come from. The trial will kill him. No human could survive it. Then he will die with honor, as the law demands. Yuna's eyes were hard as diamonds. Unless you wish to challenge the law itself, cousin. Unless you wish to admit that you are afraid. Tae-woo went silent. The room went silent. Everyone was looking at Do-hyun now, this small human standing among giants. Do-hyun cleared his throat. What is this trial? he asked. An old council member answered. The trial of resonance tests the mind, the body, and the spirit. It has broken Celestine nobles who trained their entire lives. For a human to attempt, it is suicide. Do-hyun looked at Yuna. She looked back at him with worry in her eyes. She had not told him about this. She had hoped it would not come to this. But it had come to this. And Do-hyun had made his choice. I will take the trial, he said. The trial lasted 7 days. On the first day, they tested his body. They made him fight warriors twice his size, run until his legs gave out, endure pain that would have killed most humans. He survived. On the second day, they tested his mind. They put him in a room of puzzles and riddles, problems that twisted logic into knots. He solved them. Not as fast as a Celestine would, but fast enough. On the 3rd through 6th days, they tested his spirit. They put him in a machine that showed him his worst fears, his deepest shames, his greatest losses. They made him live through every terrible moment of his life again and again. They tried to break him from the inside. He did not break. He had already been broken before, years ago. He had already put himself back together. There was nothing they could show him that he had not already faced. On the 7th day, he stood before the council again. His body was covered in wounds, his mind was exhausted, but he was still standing. The human has passed, the old council member announced. There was shock in his voice. The trial of resonance is complete. Yuna ran to him and held him in her arms. Do-hyun could barely stand, but he smiled. I told you, he whispered. Humans are stubborn. Across the room, Lord Tae-woo watched them with hatred burning in his pale eyes. He turned and walked out of the throne room without a word. The council had accepted Do-hyun. The law had been satisfied. But Tae-woo had not accepted anything, and as he left, he was already making plans. If the law would not stop this human, then war would. Civil war was coming to the Celestine Empire. The throne world of the Celestine Empire was called Lumina Prime. It was the most beautiful planet Do-hyun had ever seen. The cities were made of crystal and light, rising from the ground like frozen music. The sky was purple during the day and gold at night. Rivers of liquid silver ran through the valleys, and forests of glass trees sang when the wind blew through them. But Do-hyun could not enjoy any of it. From the moment he arrived, he was hated. The Celestines did not hide their feelings. They whispered when he walked past. They refused to speak to him directly. They called him names in their language, names that his mind translated as the pet and the animal and the queen's mistake. Guards watched him everywhere he went. Servants refused to serve him. Council members left the room when he entered. Yuna had been crowned empress 3 months ago. She sat on the crystal throne and ruled over 1,000 worlds. But half of those worlds were in rebellion. Lord Tae-woo had taken his fleet and his followers and declared himself the true leader of the empire. He said that Yuna had been corrupted by her bond with a human. He said she was no longer fit to rule. The civil war had begun. Every day reports came in from the front lines, battles in distant star systems, planets changing sides, ships destroyed, soldiers killed. The numbers were abstract to Do-hyun. He had no way to understand war on this scale. Millions of beings were dying and he could do nothing about it. He felt useless. He felt like a burden. You are not a burden, Yuna told him one night. They were in her private chambers, the only place where they could be alone. You are my strength. I am nothing, Do-hyun said. I sit in council meetings and understand nothing. I walk through the palace and everyone looks at me like I am dirt. I cannot fight in your wars. I cannot help you rule. What good am I? Yuna took his face in her hands. You remind me why I am fighting. You remind me that there is more to life than power and control. My people have forgotten that. They need to remember. Do-hyun wanted to believe her, but it was hard. He started leaving the palace. At first, he just walked through the capital city, looking at the buildings and the people. The common Celestines were different from the nobles. They were smaller, less perfect, more varied. They worked in shops and factories and farms. They had families and friends and problems. They were also more curious than afraid. One day, a young Celestine woman approached him in a market square. She was selling fruit from a small cart, and she looked at Do-hyun with wide eyes. "You are the human," she said. "The queen's consort." "Yes," Do-hyun said. He prepared himself for insults, but the woman just smiled. "My daughter thinks you are brave. She saw the images from your trial. She says she wants to be strong like you." Do-hyun did not know what to say. "Thank you," he managed. "Can I give you something?" the woman asked. She held out a piece of fruit, round and golden. "It is not much, but I want you to have it." Do-hyun took the fruit. His throat felt tight. "Thank you," he said again. After that, he went to the common districts every day. He talked to shopkeepers and workers and children. He listened to their problems. He learned about their lives. They were struggling. The war was making everything harder. Food was expensive. Medicine was scarce. Many had lost family members to the fighting. The nobles did not care about these problems. They were too busy with politics and power. But Do-hyun cared. He started bringing their concerns to Yuna, telling her what the common people needed. She listened. She made changes. Slowly, things got better. Word spread. The human consort was helping. The human consort was listening. More and more common Celestines began to see Do-hyun not as an animal, but as a friend. The nobles noticed this. They did not like it. One evening, Do-hyun was walking through a poor district when a bomb exploded. The blast threw him to the ground. His ears rang, his vision blurred. When he looked up, he saw fire and smoke and screaming people. A building had collapsed. People were trapped inside. Do-hyun could hear them crying for help. He did not think. He just ran toward the fire. The heat was terrible. The smoke choked his lungs. But he pushed forward, digging through the rubble, pulling people out one by one. He found a woman with a broken leg and carried her to safety. He found an old man buried under a beam and freed him. He found a child, a little girl, trapped in a corner with flames closing in around her. The girl was screaming. She was too scared to move. Do-hyun took off his coat and wrapped it around her. He picked her up and held her against his chest. Then he ran through the fire, feeling it burn his back and arms. He ran until he was outside, until he could breathe again, until he could set the girl down on the ground and see that she was safe. Then he collapsed. He woke up in a medical center. Yuna was sitting beside him holding his hand. Her face was wet with tears. "You almost died," she said. "You stupid, brave, wonderful man. You almost died." "The girl," Do-hyun said. His voice was rough. "Is she? She is fine. Everyone you saved is fine." Yuna squeezed his hand. "There were cameras. Everyone saw what you did. Everyone in the Empire." Do-hyun closed his eyes. He had not been thinking about cameras. He had not been thinking about anything except the people who needed help. But the cameras had been there. And the images spread across every world in the Celestine Empire. They showed a human running into fire while Celestines ran away. They showed a human saving a Celestine child while burns covered his body. They showed a human being carried out of the flames, half dead, because he had refused to stop helping. For the first time, many Celestines saw a human not as primitive or weak. They saw him as something else entirely. They saw him as heroic. The common people began to speak of Do-hyun with respect. Some even spoke of him with love. They said he had a heart that the Celestines had lost. They said he was what the Empire needed. The nobles were furious. They said it was all a trick, a performance. But the common people did not believe them anymore. They had seen the truth with their own eyes. Lord Taewoo saw it too. He was on his flagship, planning his next attack when he watched the images of Do-Yun saving the child. His pale eyes narrowed. "Enough," he said to his generals. "No more small battles, no more waiting. We end this now." He gave the order. The entire rebel fleet began to move. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. They were going to Lumina Prime. They were going to destroy the capital and kill the queen and her human consort. The final battle was coming. In the palace, Yuna received the report. She stood at the window, looking out at the crystal city she had sworn to protect. Beside her, Do-Yun stood with bandages still covering his burns. "He is coming," Yuna said quietly. "He is coming with everything he has." "Then we will stop him," Do-Yun said. "How? He has more ships, more soldiers, more weapons." Do-Yun thought about the common people he had met. He thought about the woman who gave him fruit. He thought about the little girl he had carried through the fire. "We have something he does not have," Do-Yun said. "We have something worth fighting for." Yuna looked at him. In her purple eyes he saw fear, but he also saw hope. "Yes," she said, "we do." She took his hand. They stood together at the window and watched the stars. The enemy was coming, and they would be ready. The rebel fleet came out of the darkness like a swarm of silver insects. 300 warships, each one bristling with weapons, each one carrying thousands of soldiers loyal to Lord Taewu. They filled the sky above Lumina Prime, blocking out the stars. The planetary shields held for 6 hours. Then they fell. The first bombs hit the outer districts. Explosions tore through the crystal towers. Buildings collapsed. Fires spread. The screaming started and did not stop. In the palace, Yuna stood at the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the battle. Her generals reported losses. Her advisors suggested surrender. She ignored them all. "We do not surrender," she said. Her voice was cold and hard like iron. "We fight." Do-Hyun was not in the command center. He was on the ground, in the streets, with a weapon in his hands. He had asked Yuna to let him fight. She had refused at first. She said he was too important, too valuable to risk. He had laughed at that. "I am not valuable sitting in a palace," he told her. "I am valuable down there with the people who are dying for us." She had looked at him for a long time. Then she had nodded. Now he was leading a defense unit through the burning streets of the capital. The unit was strange. It was made of Celestine soldiers who had volunteered to follow him, common people who had picked up weapons, and something else. Something unexpected. Humans. They had come from Earth in small ships, crossing the galaxy to fight for the queen who had honored one of their own. There were only 50 of them, but they were tough and angry and refused to die. They called themselves the Earthborn Guard. "Contact ahead," one of them reported. A woman named Ji-Young with short black hair and a scar on her cheek. "Rebel troops, maybe 200. Do-Yan looked at his unit. 40 soldiers against 200. Bad odds, but they had been fighting bad odds all day. "We hold this street," he said. "If they get past us, they reach the civilian shelters. Thousands of people are hiding there, children, families." No one argued. They took their positions behind broken walls and fallen columns. They checked their weapons. They waited. The rebels came around the corner like a silver wave. They were professional soldiers, well-trained, well-armed. They expected easy prey. They did not get it. Do-Yun's unit hit them from 3 sides at once. The humans were faster than the Celestines expected. The common soldiers were angrier than the rebels had ever seen. The fight was brutal and close, hand-to-hand in some places, and the street filled with the sounds of weapons and screams and bodies hitting the ground. Do-Yun fought in the center of it all. He was not as strong as a Celestine. He was not as fast. But he had something they did not have. He had nothing to lose. He had already lost everything once, years ago on Earth. He had lost his family, his career, his purpose. He had been empty for so long. Then Yuna had given him something to live for again, and now someone was trying to take it away. He would not let that happen. The battle lasted 20 minutes. When it was over, the rebels were dead or running. Do-hyun's unit had lost 8 soldiers. He knelt beside each of them and closed their eyes. "We cannot stay here," Ji-young said. Her voice was gentle. "More are coming." Do-hyun nodded. He stood up. His body ached. His hands were covered in blood. But there was more work to do. They fought their way across the city for 3 more hours. They saved 2 more civilian shelters. They held a bridge. They destroyed a rebel artillery position. The Earthborn Guard became famous that day. Stories spread through the communication networks. The humans were fighting. The humans were dying for Lumina Prime. The Celestine people had never seen anything like it. In the palace, Yuna watched the reports come in. She saw her people dying. She saw her city burning. And she saw Do-hyun leading his soldiers through the fire, refusing to give up. She loved him. She loved him more than she had ever loved anything. And she would not let Tae-woo take him from her. She made her decision. "I am going to the front," she told her generals. "Empress, no, it is too dangerous. I am the ruler of this empire. If I hide while my people die, I do not deserve to rule." She put on her armor. It was old, from the ancient days, white and gold and shining. She took her weapon, a staff that burned with blue fire. Then she walked out of the palace and into the war. The battle changed when she arrived. Yuna was not just a queen, she was a weapon. Her people had trained for centuries to control energy, to shape it with their minds. Most Celestines could do small things, little tricks. Yuna could do more. She walked into a squad of rebel soldiers and they flew backward like leaves in a storm. She raised her staff and lightning fell from the sky. She spoke a word and the ground itself opened up beneath enemy tanks. For the first time, the rebels felt fear. But Tae-woo was not afraid. He landed his shuttle in the central plaza and walked out to meet her. He was wearing black armor and his eyes were burning with rage. "Cousin," he said, "you should have stayed hidden. Now I will kill you myself." "You can try," Yuna said. They fought. It was like 2 gods at war. Energy exploded around them, tearing apart buildings, melting stone, turning the air itself to fire. They were equals in power, equals in skill. Neither could win. Then Tae-woo cheated. He had hidden soldiers in the buildings around the plaza. When Yuna was focused on him, they attacked from behind. An energy blast hit her in the back. She fell to her knees. Tae-woo walked toward her, smiling. "You are weak," he said. "You let your feelings make you weak. Love, mercy, compassion. These are diseases. I will cure the empire of them." He raised his weapon. "Goodbye, cousin." A shot rang out. Tae-woo screamed. He grabbed his hand. His weapon fell to the ground, broken. He looked up and saw Do-hyun standing at the edge of the plaza, holding a smoking rifle. "Get away from her," Do-hyun said. Tae-woo stared at him with pure hatred. "You, the human, the insect, you dare?" "Yes," Do-hyun said, "I dare." He walked forward. He dropped his rifle. He was done with weapons. "You want to know why Yuna bonded with me?" he said. "You want to know what she sees in a human? I will tell you. She sees what your people have forgotten. She sees feeling. She sees passion. She sees the courage to love even when it hurts." He stopped in front of Tae-woo. "You are afraid," he said. "That is why you want to kill her. That is why you want to destroy everything she stands for. Because she reminds you of what you have lost. She reminds you that you are empty inside." Tae-woo's face twisted. "You know nothing about me. I know everything about you. I used to be you, angry, alone, afraid to feel anything because feeling hurt too much. I wasted years of my life that way. I will not let you waste the lives of billions. He looked around the plaza. Rebel soldiers were watching. Loyal soldiers were watching. Everyone was listening. This war is not about purity, Do-Yun said. It is not about humans or Celestines. It is about fear. You are afraid of change. You are afraid of feeling. You are afraid of being vulnerable. He looked back at Tae-Woo. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength. It is what makes life worth living. Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then one of the rebel soldiers lowered his weapon. Then another. Then another. They had seen what Do-Hyun did in the streets. They had seen him save children and hold dying soldiers and refuse to quit. They had heard the stories. Now they heard his words, and they believed him. Tae-Woo looked around at his soldiers dropping their weapons. His face went white. "No," he said. "No, I am your leader, I am—" "You are alone," Yuna said. She was standing again. Her wounds were bleeding, but her eyes were clear. "It is over, Tae-Woo." He looked at her. He looked at Do-Hyun. He looked at the soldiers who had abandoned him. Then his shoulders fell. The fight went out of him. He suddenly looked old and small and broken. "Kill me," he whispered. "Just kill me." Yuna shook her head. "No," she said. "You will live. You will watch everything you tried to destroy grow stronger. That will be your punishment." She signaled her guards. They came and took Tae-Woo away. He did not resist. Around the plaza, weapons were falling to the ground. The fighting was stopping. The word was spreading across the planet, across the system, across the empire. The war was over. Do-Hyun felt his legs give out. Yuna caught him before he fell. "I have you," she said. He looked up at her face. She was bloody and burned and beautiful. "We won," he said. She smiled. It was the most wonderful thing he had ever seen. "We won," she said. Above them, the sun was rising over Lumina Prime. The light hit the broken crystal towers and scattered into a million colors. It looked like hope. 10 years passed. The Celestine Empire was not the same. It would never be the same again. And that was good. Lumina Prime had been rebuilt. The crystal towers were taller than before, shining in the purple sky. But there were new buildings, too, made of stone and wood and metal, built in styles from 100 different worlds. The capital was no longer pure. It was mixed. It was alive. Yuna stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out at her city. She wore a simple white dress instead of royal robes. Her blue hair was shorter now, cut above her shoulders. She looked younger somehow, even though Celestines did not age the way humans did. Behind her, the door opened. She smiled without turning around. "You are late," she said. "I was talking to the ambassador from Earth," Do-Hyun said. He walked out onto the balcony and stood beside her. She had many questions. She always has many questions. "That is why I like her." Yuna laughed. It was a sound that still surprised people who remembered the cold, distant princess she used to be. But Yuna laughed often now. She had learned how from her husband. Do-Hyun was 47 years old. His hair was turning gray at the sides. There were lines on his face that had not been there before. He moved a little slower, and his old wounds ached when the weather changed. He had never been happier in his life. The years since the war had been busy. The Empire had changed in ways that no one had expected. Yuna had opened relations with Earth and dozens of other species. She had created the Alliance, a council where every member world had a voice. She had reformed the laws that kept power in the hands of the old noble families. She had built schools and hospitals and trade routes. She had not done it alone. Do-Hyun was her partner in everything. He sat beside her in council meetings. He traveled with her to distant worlds. He helped her make decisions that affected billions of lives. The nobles had called him the pet once. Now they called him consort regent, and they bowed when he walked past. But that was not the work he cared about most. His real work was with the people. He had created programs to help the poor and the sick. He had started schools where young Celestines and humans learned side by side. He had trained a new generation of diplomats and soldiers and leaders who understood that strength came from compassion, not conquest. The Earthborn Guard still existed. It had grown from 50 soldiers to 5,000. They served throughout the Alliance, protecting those who could not protect themselves. Ji-young commanded them now. She had become one of the most respected officers in the fleet, and there was something else. Something that mattered more to Do-yun than all of it. "Where is she?" he asked Yuna. "In the garden. She said she needed to think." Do-yun nodded. He kissed Yuna on the cheek and walked back into the palace. He found his daughter sitting by the silver fountain, watching the water fall. She was 9 years old, with her mother's blue hair and her father's dark eyes. Her skin was pale, almost silver, but not quite. She was the first human Celestine hybrid in history. Her name was Hana. "Your mother said you were thinking," Do-yun said. He sat down beside her on the fountain edge. "What about?" Hana was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Am I strange?" Do-yun felt his heart tighten. "Why do you ask that?" "The other children say I am. They say I am not really Celestine. They say I am not really human. They say I am in between." Do-yun took a deep breath. He had known this would come someday. He had hoped it would come later. "You are in between," he said. "That is true." Hana looked at him with her dark eyes. "Does that make me wrong?" "No." Do-yun took her hand. "It makes you special. You have something no one else has. You carry 2 worlds inside you, 2 histories, 2 sets of gifts. Do you know what that means?" Hana shook her head. "It means you can understand both sides. You can talk to humans and feel what they feel. You can talk to Celestines and know what they know. You can be a bridge between them." "A bridge?" "Yes. The alliance your mother built, it is held together by laws and treaties. But laws and treaties are not enough. People need to understand each other. They need to see that they are not so different. You can help them see that." Hana thought about this. Her face was serious, the way her mother's got when she was working on a hard problem. "That sounds important," she said. "It is. It is maybe the most important thing there is. But what if I fail?" Do-yun smiled. "Then you try again. That is what humans do. We fail, and we try again. We never give up. That is our gift." "What is the Celestine gift?" "Patience, wisdom, seeing the big picture." He squeezed her hand. "You have both. You will be all right." Hana nodded slowly. Then she leaned against her father's shoulder. They sat together by the fountain, listening to the water. That evening there was a celebration. Ships from 100 worlds filled the sky above Lumina Prime, arriving for the 10th anniversary of the Alliance. The palace was full of ambassadors and leaders and delegates, humans and Celestines, and species Do-hyun had never even seen before. He stood in the great hall, wearing his formal clothes. Feeling awkward the way he always did at these events, he was a pilot and a soldier. Parties were not his strength. But he smiled and shook hands and answered questions. He told the story of how he found Yuna's ship, how he hid her, how he fell in love with her. He had told the story 1,000 times. He never got tired of it. Later, when the crowds had thinned, he found Yuna on the balcony again. She was looking at the stars. "Hana told me about your talk," she said. "She said you made her feel better." "I tried." "You succeeded." Yuna turned to look at him. Her purple eyes were soft. "You are a good father." "I learned from a good partner." She smiled. Then the smile faded just a little. "I have been thinking," she said. "About what?" "About time." Do-hyun understood. He had thought about it too. Celestines lived for thousands of years. Humans lived for less than 100. He was 47 now. In another 40 years, maybe 50, he would be gone, and Yuna would still be young. "I know," he said quietly. I will lose you, she said. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the pain beneath it. I will lose you, and I will have to keep living. For centuries, for millennia. Without you. Do-hyun took her hands. Yes, he said. You will, and it will hurt. I am sorry for that. How can you be so calm? Because I have thought about it. I have thought about it every day since I met you. He looked into her eyes. And I decided that it does not matter. How can it not matter? Because this is enough. He gestured at the city, the stars, the palace. What we have built, what we have done, the life we have had together. It is enough. It is more than enough. Most people never get this. Most people live their whole lives without finding what we found. But I want more time. Everyone wants more time. But time is not what matters. What matters is what you do with it. He touched her face. We have changed the universe, Yuna. We have changed how people think about each other. We have created something that will last forever. That is our legacy. That is what I will leave behind. Yuna closed her eyes. A tear ran down her silver cheek. And I will continue it, she said. Yes. You will raise our daughter. You will lead the alliance. You will keep building bridges and opening doors. You will do it for 1,000 years, and you will do it well, because that is who you are. She opened her eyes. You have too much faith in me. No. I have exactly the right amount. She laughed. It was a wet, broken laugh, but it was real. I love you, she said. I love you too. They held each other on the balcony, under the stars. The celebration continued in the hall behind them. Ships moved across the sky. Somewhere in the garden, their daughter was playing. The universe was vast and cold and full of dangers. But it was also full of possibilities, full of connections waiting to be made, bridges waiting to be built, lives waiting to be changed. And it had all started with a crashed ship on a mountain and a man who chose to help. Do you ever regret it? Yuna asked. Leaving your world behind? Do-hyun smiled. He had been asked this question before. He always gave the same answer. I did not leave anything behind, he said. I just found more to protect. She took his hand. They looked at the stars together. The night was young, the future was bright, and their story was just beginning.